Welcome to my channel of Miel Hebraica, Hebrew Honey, and today we're doing the second installment of the series on Ehud. We've already done one, which has been uploaded in the last day or so, and now I'm working on the second one. And we continue here in Judges 3:16. Ehud made for himself a double-edged sword, 18 inches long. He strapped it to his right thigh under his clothing. Ve'ashlo, and he made for himself, Ehud made for himself, Herev is a sword. Well, this is a double segol here, with a nice revi on the front, so Herev. You see a nice point like that, that emphasizes that. Ve'lach, and it's interesting how the sword, Herev, is personalized here, okay? Ve'lach, and to her, Shnei peot, two mouths. Okay, the edge of a sword is a pe. In other words, when a sword cuts somebody, it's eating somebody. So it's kind of idiomatic way of looking at it, I suppose. So velach shnei peot, two mouths, two edges. So yeah, two edges to it. Gomed is about 18 inches long. It's a cubit. Gomed. Orcha in length. Orcha, long here. Orcha. And notice you have to her and length to her again. So you have the same suffix pronoun of female suffix pronoun designated, talking about the sword here. Velach shnei peot gomed orcha. Va yachgor, and he strapped or tied. Yachgor ota, and again strapped her. Metat, beneath lamadav, beneath his clothing, between his clothes. Yeah, it's plural. Yamadav. Al Yerech, this is the thigh. Yamino. Okay. As we've noticed in the previous video, the word yamin is emphasized throughout the whole thing. We've gone through a large portion of the narration already and haven't even found the word shmone, but we have certainly been looking. The third or fourth time we see yamino on his right thigh. This apparently, the guards would check the left thigh because right-handed men would tie their swords to the left thigh, but if you're a left-handed person, you're going to tie it to your right thigh. And he brought the tribute to Eglon, king of Moab, who was an extremely fat man. So he's in charge of, there were other people helping him, but he was the one who was in charge of and it's interesting, V'yak rev. It's to bring something nearby, okay, to bring it near. So he brought near et ha minha, the tribute, the taxes. Like I said in the previous video, this is possibly what happened with Ehud and against Eglon. It was a tax revolt. So he's bringing his taxes le'Eglon, to Eglon, Melech Moab, king of Moab. Eglon, ish bari meod. He was bari. I tend to remember this word here. He was like a barrel. Okay, bari. He is a very thick person. Okay, bari meod. In Judges 3:18, and when Ehud had finished presenting the tribute, he dismissed the people who had carried it. Vahi, and it so happened, Vahi, okay, they separate out, then you have to pronounce this Shava here. Vahi, Kasher, just as Kila had finished, had completed. Kol is when something has become all, Kol, and Kila, it's been completed, it's been finished. Leha Hakriv, to present, to bring near. Et Haminiha, but Yeshala, and he sent Et Ha'am, the people, the Noshe, ones who had been carrying, ones who had lifted, who had carried, Ha-Minha, who had carried the tribute. So the tribute is repeated here and here. In English we have it here, and then here it's just with a pronoun. So Hamina, Hamina. And so what had happened is they had arrived in the city of palms. They had given their stuff, and then Ehud told all the other people with him, who knows how many, enough that might have been interfering with what was going to happen next, or would have put them in great danger. Of course, they'd end up themselves in the middle of a pitched battle in which they probably weren't armed for. And so he says, okay, we're all done. Go home, leave, and they all trek off as quickly as they can. They aren't carrying much of a load anymore, so they're heading home. And then what Ehud does, he goes up to Gilgal, and at that point swings around back and comes back to Eglon. And he returned from the flax bushes near Gilgal. Now, there's been quite a debate as to what this one is here, Minha Pishalim. And there's another Hebrew word, Pishet, and this is when the spies were visiting in Jericho. Rahab hid the spies under Pishet, under the stalks of linen. And the word is similar enough so that I'm willing to put it in as flax bushes. The other ways it's used, this particular word's used in the scriptures, are tablets, carved tablets, or carved things with carvings on them. And these carvings can be representing idols. So other translators will go with the way the word is used in the rest of the scripture. I've gone with how the geography and the place this takes place. So the flax bushes near Gilgal. Okay. So, and then he said, I have a secret message from me to you, the king. The king said, hush. And they sent out from him around him all the attendants. Rehu Shav, and then he returned. Minha Pishalim, and that's Asher et Gilgal. Probably that's as far as he'd gone with the people who were carrying the tribute, who were carrying all the jars and things that contained the taxes that they had to pay. And so he returned from Gilgal, and so it's quite symbolic. In other words, when Joshua liberated Jericho, they set out from Gilgal to go out and march around Jericho. So in a sense, Ehud is retracing the steps that Joshua took earlier when he conquered Jericho. So he returned from Gilgal, et ha-Gilgal, Vayomer, he said, Debar Sheter, okay, a secret word, Debar Sheter, a secret word, just doesn't even have article on it, a secret word, secret message, Sheter. Li Elecha, made to you, okay, this is to me, to you, okay, and so it's a very interesting connection here, just from me to you personally. So in other words, one-to-one. This is Li Elecha, Hamelech, okay, king, the king. Okay, he puts the title on there. King, I've got a message for you, me to you. And he said, hush, okay, hush. And I've used an English word here, which is pretty close to what the Hebrew is, okay, hush, hush, okay, hush, hush, quiet, silence, okay, hush. Apparently quite a hubbub of all the people around the king, throne room, everything's pretty busy up there. So he goes, hush. Ve'yashalu, and then they sent out, or they went out. They sent out Ve'yashalu me'alav, from around him, kol ha-omedim. And these are the ones standing there. Omedim, you just have omed, it's a column, but the ones who are standing in attendance all around him, which should be the secretaries and guards and everybody else who was in attendance to the king. Very active throne room, but they were all sent out. Ehud, and then Ehud went to him. He was sitting in the upstairs room. I remember mentioned in the previous video that sitting in an upstairs room is often dangerous, and where evil things can also take place, or people who tend to become manipulative when they're in an upper room. So he was sitting in the upstairs room. The cooling afternoon breeze was on him. He was all alone. Incidentally, with this Mikra, we can kind of almost set the time in which this happened, because over in Jerusalem, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then of course Jericho's further out into the valley, the Jordan Valley, so maybe a bit later there. But the afternoon breezes, begin blowing in from the Mediterranean, and it's as the land has heated up, then the air over the land rises, and of course the cooler maritime air from the Mediterranean, flows in, and so once the heating of the day has occurred, it starts pulling in the cooler breezes from the ocean. So 3, 4 in the afternoon is when this event took place, and that's why you had an upper story. Upper story, you caught more breezes, and a cooling afternoon breeze on him. He was all alone. Ehud said, "I have a word from God, from me to you." And the king arose from his throne. That Li Elech, we saw that in the previous verse as well. Ehud, and Ehud, Ba Elehav, to him, this is Ba, came to him, Rehu Yoshev, and he, this is the king now, Hu Yoshev, he was seated, Be Alit, he was sitting in the upper room. Al means going up, and this is the upper place. Okay, Be Alit. Mikra, of the breeze, cooling breeze, like I said, sometime in the middle or late afternoon is when the breeze starts picking up. And Asher Lo, which was to him, okay, he was up there, okay, I need this breeze. And you can kind of understand it. The man's quite obese, and he wants to catch this breeze coming at him. Might have said, well, might not have much clothing on at that point, but anyway, Asher Lo, which was to him. And in translations tend to run this all together, but I've done what the Hebrew does here, just chopped it up into what was happening. And he was all alone. Lebado, okay, Lebado. Ehud, or Eglon, had not been reading Genesis 2, which is, and God says, it's not good that man be alone. Lebado. Why? Because Lebado, if you're Lebado, you can suffer Abado. Okay, Abado is Aleph Bet. Lebado is Lamed Bet Dalet. Okay, alone. Abado is Aleph Bet Dalet is destruction. Okay, so he who is all alone suffers. He who is Lebado will suffer Abado. Okay, so it's dangerous to be alone. Okay, obviously the rest of the story confirms that. So Lebado, he was there alone. Vayomer, and he said, Ehud, Vayomer, he said, Devar Elohim, a word of God, a word from God. Okay, Devar Elohim, Li Elecha, me to you. Ve Yakom, okay, Yakom. This is Kames Hatuv, because closed syllable, no accent, so the comments has to be an O. Ve Yakom, Me'al ha-kiseh, from on top or from above the throne, ha-kiseh. Kiseh is used for chair, but also when it's a king sitting somewhere, it's a throne. It's something that he's covering. Okay, kiseh is to cover something. And then Ehud extended his left hand, and he took the sword from his right thigh, and he plunged it into Eglon's belly. V'yeshalach, and this is to send out. Okay, so now he's sending out his hand. Ehud Yeshalach, et yad, is his hand. Shmo lo. Now, this is we've been talking about left-handed people all the time now, but this is the first time in the whole passage that we see the word left. Okay, Shmo lo, his left, his hand, his left one. Okay, the left one, his hand. V'yakach, and he grabbed et haherev, took the sword, me'al, from yerech yamino, from the right thigh, yit keha, and he plunged it, he stabbed it. Okay, this is beat toe. Okay, and you can almost see the belly button right here, bebito, in his right in the middle of his belly, straight there, just like that. So done. So far in, probably took out the arteries towards the back, and just a light stab probably wouldn't count, but when it goes a long ways through him, basically cuts the person almost in half. Well, yeah, that's quite a fatal blow, and that was his intent, to just make it a very sudden, very quick death for Mr. Eglon. Judges 3:22, even the handle went in after the blade, and the flab closed over the blade, because he did not yank the sword from his belly, and his insides spewed out. When you study this, you kind of go, wow, this is pretty gross. It's kind of graphic and so forth, and you kind of go, why does this have to be? That's what pretty descriptive of actually what happened, and it's kind of a sign from that the Lord will do his wonders even in circumstances that don't look so great. So I've checked some of the translations. They'll leave some of these parts out. It's just a little bit too much. So, but it's there. Okay. V'yavo, and it went in. Gam ha-nishav, okay, even the handle. If you've been watching previous video, you've already seen this particular word. This actually means the column, and when you can check back, when Lot's wife was converted into a column of salt, it was like a column. Okay, this is also for a column. Okay, nishav, ha-nishav. Aher, behind, lahav. Okay, this is the column followed the lahav. Okay, that's the blade. This is the blade. Lahav, yeshgor. Okay, and closed, snap. Closed. You will use this word later on. You'll see this word later on for closing the door. But here it's the ha-helev. Okay, it's an interesting play on words here. You have the blade and you have the flab. It's just inverting. You just take a quick look here. They're inverting. No, they're just there's a chet lamed bet, and this is a lamed hey bet. Okay, it's easy to confuse chets, but here it is. Ha-helev. Okay, this is the flab. This is the fat. The covering of the belly. Ha-helev, be'ad, ha-lahav. Okay, so, and then the fat closed over the blade. ki, lo, because not. Shalaf, pulled, yank. When the workers of Boaz are working in the field, Boaz told them, pull out some pieces pull out some stalks from your bundles and leave them on the ground for Ruth. Same word here, shalaf. Okay, velo shalaf, ahead of the sword, mi beitno, from his belly, from his belly, beitno, ve yeshav ha parshadona. This is parash is something that spreads out, spills out. Okay, parash. Okay, so incidentally, in typical param upasanam. Okay, it would be spewed out. You'll be spilled out. Okay, the words that were seen on the wall when there was writing on the wall there. Parshadon, okay, and his insides spewed out. Ehud left by way of the colonnades. Yeshav, Ehud, ha, mish, der, rotna. This has been kind of quite a bit of debate as to what this word actually means. By way of the colonnades. Now, seder is something that's is put in order. Okay, so it's said that it's in order. This is okay. Okay, in fact, in modern Hebrew, you hear the word beseder. Okay, that's in order. Okay, beseder. And so if you take something that's in order and you make a noun out of it, okay, you take things placed in order, put them in a line, you get something that's lined up. Okay, this is all lined up. Okay, and what would you line up? Well, you'd line up the colonnades. Now, when they've done archaeology on Herod's palaces and so forth, they would build them with lots of columns around the perimeter, so that it would hold the roof to provide the shade, and yet it would be open enough to get a nice breeze through it. So, ha mish derotna. The colonnades. It's other translations that pick up from this, and they say that was the porch. This was the outside edge of the building, or something like that. So, ha mish shederot na. Ve yashgor. Again, we said yashgor. We saw yashgor already, sagar already, when the flap closed over the blade, and here. This is an active verb here, and then he closed dalatot, the doors. Okay, the doors. Dalet is the panels of the doors. Okay, so it's the panels of the doors, and it's apparently a two-folding door. Ha'aliyah, of the upper room. Be'ado, ve'na'a. Okay, and he behind him, and he na'al. Na'al is he bolted it. He set the inside bolt. Now here's an interesting dilemma. He's basically locked himself in the room, and the building is surrounded by guards. Attendants are standing all around, and so forth. And so here's the question: how in the world does Ehud get himself out of a locked room? He's outnumbered, 30, 40, 50 to 1, and his sword's already gone, and just how does he manage to get away? Good question, and I'll leave you to the next video to answer that one. So it's a little bit of a cliffhanger here. Hope you can hang on for the next video to find the solution to this dilemma, how to get yourself out of a locked room.